Hello, Dr. Montaigne here. I'm going to talk to you about analyzing a painting for our analysis essay. The purpose of this is to learn to analyze something so that you can write about something in detail, and we'll also be writing in third person so you can continue to practice that. And also, art is fun and interesting and something that everybody should learn to appreciate on the technical level, because it'll help you appreciate it emotionally more. Okay, so the art composition elements that we're going to be looking at in the paintings that we choose are three-dimensional effects. Most paintings are done on a two-dimensional surface, but they look like they are three-dimensional, and that is because the artist has used specific effects to make it so, and I'll show you that in just a minute. There's the horizon line that divides the earth from the sky, and also adds to the three-dimensional effect, and I'll show you that in just a minute. The golden mean is a mathematical principle, and it's about the use of thirds, and most compositions are divided up into three areas of the canvas, sometimes in more than one way. A focal point is the central idea, usually a central figure or place in the canvas where the meaning is derived. And the use of color creates mood and atmosphere and the emotional overall effect of the painting. Drawing mastery refers to how good was the painter at drawing. Was the painter very good at drawing and did it in a realistic kind of way, or is the painter good at drawing but didn't do it in a realistic kind of way, maybe did it in a more childlike way or in an abstract way? And that has to do with reality versus abstraction. Reality is when a painting is very realistic looking, like a photograph. An abstracted painting is one that does not look like a photograph. Maybe it still looks like something, but it's been abstracted from reality in order to make a point about reality or non-reality. So let's look at some examples now. The first example that we are going to look at is a painting painted in Spain, and it was painted in Spain, I believe, in the 1600s or maybe the late 1500s. And here we have the horizon line at the back, and the way the horizon line makes this painting looks three-dimensional, and in all paintings that look three-dimensional, is that things that are closer are darker in hue and the things that are farther away are lighter in hue. Not necessarily in color, but they're lighter, and so they look farther away. This is darker, and so it looks closer. It's really kind of simple as that, and also has to do with the size. The size of this person is much bigger because it's closer. The trees, even though would be much bigger in a man if he was standing next to it, look farther away because they're smaller. Okay, so it looks three-dimensional because the horizon line looks like it's far away. And this dark wall also adds to the darkness up close here. So it looks like the up close area is divided from the farther away area. Okay, also this painting uses thirds. It uses that's a third of the canvas there, a third of the canvas there, and a third of the canvas there, and the same thing across this way. Okay, so this line is a spear that is bringing the eye into the center of the painting so that the focal point here is noticeable. The focal point is heightened by this red color. This is Jesus and Mary on a throne, and there's sort of a cross here. The throne, of course, is representing royalty and how Jesus and Mary are royalty in the Christian faith. Also in Spain, the head of the king, who was head of state, was beholden to God and was responsible to God. Here is the soldier who represents the state and the monk who represents the church. And so even though these figures are realistic looking, it's still symbolic of how government works under God in Spain at that time. And so these are somewhat realistic characters, but the way they are arranged is sort of abstract, because this doesn't really look like any scene in reality. This throne is kind of funny looking. It looks more like a statue than a throne. And so there is some reality and some abstraction here. I'm going to next show you a contrasting painting that was painted in the early 20th century by an artist named Kandinsky. And he is really interesting. This painting is of St. George and the Dragon. Even though it's sort of a more traditional subject matter, he does it in a very modern way. So here is St. George. This is his face. He's looking down. That's his helmet with plumes, and his arms here. Those are his elbows. They look kind of like little mountains to me. And he's holding this spear, which he's stabbing into the throat of the dragon. This is the dragon's face here. The dragon has closed eyes. He looks actually kind of peaceful, even though he's being stabbed. The flames are coming out of his mouth, and the smoke is coming up here, and his tail is going up there. These are his wings and his legs. And St. George's foot is coming down here. Those are his spurs. And he's riding a blue horse with yellow spots, you know, like you do. I find that very charming and interesting. So there's a third going across this way, a third here, and a third here, and also a third and a third and a third going across this way. Also, this painting is bisected by this line of the spear. It's bisected down this way and across this way by the horse. The horizon line is back here. We can see this is the ground and that's farther away, but the other interesting thing is that there's another horizon line with the moon behind the mountains. How that exactly is happening, I'm not sure. But I think that's sort of the abstraction of this, is that it's about something, it looks something, it looks like a guy riding a horse, killing a dragon, but it's also very fanciful, sort of childlike. His drawing isn't very realistic. It's sort of quick and simple and loose and sort of childlike and fanciful. And I just adore this painting. It's just so endlessly fascinating. I have it in my bedroom and I look at it all of the time. Okay, moving on to another one. And this is also a Spanish painting. It's in a museum in Spain right now. And you can see some of these other principles. These same principles as well. One of the most interesting thing about this painting is that the horizon line is suggested out the window, but we know it's there because of this light, and this light here is helping us see that the room is three-dimensional. So the painter made the room three-dimensional by having the horizon line suggested out the back door, and it makes the room look long and as if it's three-dimensional. Now we can see that the line kind of goes across this way. There's a third on the ceiling here, a third here, and a third with these figures going across, and also sort of this, like the spears in the other painting, kind of makes a border so that the painter has the line swooping in towards the focal point, which is this little princess here in her white outfit. And the courtiers are attending this little princess who is contrasted with the darkness in the back of the room, but also the color unity is that there's white, 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 and I meant to mention that in the Kandinsky painting too, that color unity means that there are colors, a palette that's been chosen of a few colors or many colors, and you usually can find it throughout a painting. And so here we have perhaps the princess's little brother, a little dog who's kind of long-suffering there as the little boy steps on him, and a small person here, and some other courtiers. But another interesting thing about this painting is that the artist here is painting on this canvas, but he's painted a scene of him painting, which is a little bit metaphysical, you know, a little meta as we say these days, and the king and queen are reflected in this mirror here, so that he's supposedly painting them on this canvas, but the really interesting thing is what's happening in the room here. So this is very realistically painted of these figures, but they're again arranged in a way so that he's telling his story here. Okay, now that we've looked at some paintings, I just want to talk about some common mistakes that people make in trying to write in third person for this. So this needs to be written in third person. As you do the art composition analysis, do not insert yourself or anyone else as an observer or any second person you. Write directly about what the painter has done and what those effects are. So, wrong. Upon first glance of this painting, the eye is drawn to the beautiful expression in Amelie's eyes and brows. Well, who's doing the first glancing? I guess it's the person looking at it. And the eye, I don't know, it's very confusing. This is what's called a dangling modifier. There's not really anybody doing this. It's just kind of left over from writing in first person. If this was in first person, it would say, upon first glance of this painting, I was drawn to. But it would be much better and more straightforward in third person to write, Amelie's eyes and brows have a beautiful expression. Here's another example. You can see what looks like a church steeple at the center of the painting. How do you know that? Are you talking to me? Do you mean yourself? Do you mean I can see? But again, that's just sort of disguised first person. In third person, it should be a church steeple is at the center of the painting. Showing the same images on either side of the artwork creates the illusion that you are in two places at once. This is also accidental second person. It should be the same images on either side of the artwork creates the illusion that a person can be in two places at once. And here's another one. The two different but continuing viewpoints tells, this was a mistake that the student made, not proofreading well enough, you that just because two people think something differently, it doesn't mean that they are wrong. And this mixes second person, third person, all kinds of crazy stuff. But it would be better just to write directly, the two different but continuing viewpoints reveals that although people think differently from one another, their opinions are equally valuable. Okay, well, good luck on this, and I hope this was helpful.